The Republicans are on course to win their biggest majority in nearly a century. That's right. In this video, we're going to take a look at the latest projections coming from panicked liberals. We're going to analyze the reasons for such a massive projection, and stick with me to the very end of this video when I'll reveal how this majority may keep Republicans in power for the next decade. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Stevie with you. Great to be with you as always. I am your daily fake news antidote. As each and every day, I provide patriotic analysis to help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy, turbulent, woke, insane times. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe. But before we get into things here, gang, make sure to check out our amazing merch store for gifts for the patriots in your life or for yourself. We got the best designs in the world, like our latest Let's Go Brandon t-shirts. They're absolutely awesome. We got some of the best Patriot gear where you can pick out something that spreads hope and supports my channel here at the very same time. So make sure to click on that link below. Get your Patriot merch today. These designs, they're so cool. They're punchy, they're fun, but they're not going to stick around for long. So click on that link below right now in the description to both support me and spread Patriot hope. And let's make 2022 the most patriotic year ever. All right, let's dive right in here. As the Biden regime continues to implode with the collapse of his OSHA vax mandate and his For the People Act, as well as Build Back Better, we're now looking at the flip side of the equation, which is how much Biden's destruction is going to in turn crush the Democrat Party. Larry Sabato is an ultra-liberal University of Virginia pollster. He's predicting that the Republicans may indeed win more seats in the upcoming midterms than at any time since the Great Depression. Right now, Sabato sees Republicans taking upwards of 35 seats, which is actually rather conservative projection at this point. But if they were to do that, that would give them more seats than at any time since the Great Depression. There's a number of reasons for this projection. First and foremost, we're seeing nothing less than an absolute collapse of the Biden regime. You'll definitely want to check out my first video today that got into the double death blow that Biden got as of yesterday from the Supreme Court, as well as Senator Kirsten Sinema. I mean, Biden was absolutely crushed yesterday. But now we have to look at the flip side of the coin, as it were, and see how the fallout from Biden's collapse is going to irreparably damage the Democrats politically. Now, in terms of how Biden's collapse and the Democrats' prospects, their fortunes in the midterms relate to each other, it all comes down to Biden's poll numbers. As Gallup has tracked for decades, when a president is underwater, that is, when a president is under 50% approval, we can expect to see a loss of an average of 37 seats in the House for the president's party, which lines up pretty well with Larry Sabato's prediction. So where is Biden right now in terms of his approval? I don't know how many of you saw the latest Quinnipiac poll. We talked about it in one of yesterday's videos, if I recall. That poll has Biden at a whole new low of just 33%. Now, gang, that's about the lowest poll number in modern presidential polling. I mean, we're talking Richard Nixon levels here. We haven't seen polling like this since the early 70s. I mean, Jimmy Carter, who lost re-election by 46 states, had a higher approval rating than Biden. And this has been corroborated by a number of other polls, not as low as Quinnipiac's, but the latest Civics poll that just came out found Biden's approval rating down to 35%. The latest from Trafalgar, which is historically one of the more accurate polling firms, they called New Jersey perfectly a few months back. Biden has an embarrassing 36% approval. The latest Suffolk University USA Today poll has Biden's approval at 38%. That was a couple of weeks back. The latest Quinnipiac poll, the latest Zogby poll has Biden at 36%. Now, these polls were all taken over the last few weeks. So this latest Quinnipiac, we can really see Biden imploding. He's now losing Democrats. And so with Gallup's threshold indicator in the background, where a president under 50% approval can expect a loss of an average of 37 seats in the House, and with the death of the John Lewis Act, where Democrats would have federalized all national elections from here on end, I mean, there's little question that we're potentially seeing the rise of a red wave like never before. So that's That's just coming from Biden's meltdown. But there's another factor here as well that suggests a red wave like never before, and that's the massively successful efforts by Republicans at redistricting throughout the nation. Now, I featured this headline before, but I think it's so perfect. This is from the far left site salon.com. The GOP already has enough safe seats through redistricting alone to win back the House in 2022. And the byline reads, Speaker McCarthy or Speaker Trump? Republicans already have a majority locked down, and they're not done yet. Now, this is drawing from a relatively recent analysis by the New York Times. And according to the Times, while only 12 states have completed the process of redrawing their congressional district maps based on the 2020 census, the Republicans have already reconfigured enough districts to add 5 new safe seats, which is enough for them to take over the House. Of course, assuming nothing else changes, right? So if you didn't know, Republicans have been busy redistricting the nation's congressional districts in such a way that really, in the end, Democrats just simply can't compete with it. We have to remember that not only did the GOP do very well in House races in 2020, they also dominated the state legislatures in such a way that they may actually be poised to dominate the House for the next decade until the next census. And this is because the GOP is now in complete control of state houses and governorships that will end up redrawing maps for nearly 200 congressional districts. That's nearly 50% of all districts getting redrawn totally in the GOP's favor. And by contrast, the Democrats control state legislatures and governorships that will redraw only about 20% of the nation's districts. And so by controlling so many more districts, we're going to start seeing at least half the nation not just go red, but go very, very deep red. And the midterms will be the first test to see just how deeply red these new redrawn Republican districts all across the nation are. So you got Biden collapsing to some of the lowest poll numbers of any modern president. You've got massive Republican redistricting. And then on top of it all, you got a torrent of Democrat retirements. And we're seeing a record number of Democrats calling it quits. Not even Nancy Pelosi has announced her reelection, right? The rats are fleeing the ship. And so more and more the mainstream media is recognizing that this is going to be a disaster. The New York Times, this headline, the Democrats are in peril. Can they talk themselves out of it? Or this one from Real Clear Politics, if the polls are right, the Democrats are doomed. This is my favorite. If they're wrong, it's even worse. How do you like that news? I've got some really bad news, and I've got some really, really, really bad news. So it really does look like the Democrats are going to get crushed in mere months from now, and boy, are we going to be looking forward to that together. Now, before you go, you'll definitely want to check out my latest video on the most hilarious comments on Joe Biden's Instagram. This is just too good, and it's going to make your weekend. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.